Hello, my name is Keisuke Toyoda, founding partner of the NOIZ Architects, and I'd like to talk about the concept behind our installation, Lazy House. Today we are getting into the age of AI, and the development of AI daily is amazing. The type of AI we normally face is what we call LLM, the large language model, which is based on the vast amount of information available in the internet and then database. They are so capable, but they cannot still understand physical spaces, the space around us as an environment. AI surprisingly has a lot of difficulty to understand, let's say, the shape of this room, or this is chair, this is the table, that's the tree, that type of formal information, attribute information, or the relational information between space. It is because the data of the space or object are not as much accumulated as the text. So the new territory for AI is the space or physical space. And still it's in the beginning of expansion. So the challenge for AI is to understand the space commonly. Especially the commonly is important because the way we as a human understand the space is completely different from the how AI understands the space. For instance, we human uses eye, ear, nose, or any kind of sense through the body, which is very difficult to describe or digitalize as an information. The way that we understand the space might be different from different species. Let's say butterfly understand the space differently, and the dog might understand differently. Different animal understand the environment through their different devices and different informational process. So the same space could be different species by species because our body is different. That applies to the AI even more drastically. AI need to understand the space through the camera or through the infrared sensor or any other kind of digital devices which senses the space differently. So maybe one robot, the one chair could be described in the same one format, whereas the other robot might understand differently. And so if there is 100 different type of the AI, they might understand the same object and the same space completely differently, and then they might not be compatible. So it might be a trouble and challenge for the near future once the spatial AI is developed and installed in a bunch of robots, but they might not be able to communicate each other because the AI and their body type sensing system is completely different. And that is a trouble between human and robots too. We're not going to understand the same thing commonly. So that's the main thing that my university research is so-called common ground. We are trying to develop the system for AI and the human to understand the same circumstance and environment in the common language. In our research, we call the robots or any kind of AI embedded agent as a non-human agent because they are the agent which is different from human. What is the agent? There is no clear definition of an agent, but in this case, I would like to place it very simply. The agent is an object to substance which sense and calculate and actuate. Sensing is the input and calculate is the internal process, and actuate is the output, which the one object which can do the sensing, calculation, and an actuation is an agent. in a simpler word, they can behave, and not just behaving, but the benefit out of a behavior is also the condition of the agent. There's a bunch of different way of defining an agent, but let's say those two are the very fundamental definition. And then the digital era has the different type of agent. Before, we as a human or animal, insect, any kind of living creature were the agent. But now AI is embedded into the robots. They can be the new type of the non-human agent. So in the age of AI, we gonna have a new non-human agent coming into our daily life, which is the digital agents. The unique part of the digital agents is that their body doesn't need to be limited within the solid body. For human or any other animal, their body is limited. Your sensing device, calculation device, or actuation device all fits within your body. But in case of digital agents, as far as they communicate through the digital telecommunication system, they can use the sensor embedded onto the room, or they can use the calculation on the cloud system. They can use the actuator which is remotely located off your body. So the sensing, calibration, actuation doesn't need to be limited within your skin. That is a completely different characteristic of the digital agents. In that sense, the robots doesn't need to be relying on their own sensing devices. They can rely on the sensors on the room. That might be actually more efficient and cost effective. So is the calculation power, and so is the actuation power. For instance, the autonomous mobility, instead of putting a lot of sensors and then the powerful computer and the good actuation robot arm, they can use the sensors on the building, and they can see much bigger space. And they can use the cloud computing that's more powerful. And they can use the automatic door instead of using their own arm to open the door, and that is more efficient. Therefore, the digital agent can be much cheaper and dumber once they can use the environment remotely. So what I call common ground originally started as a common recognition of the space is going beyond. That the agent can share sensing, calculation, and the actuation through the environment, which is only possible in a digital circumstance. So the common ground doesn't need to be just a cognitive system, but more proactive intermediation of a platform for digital agents. So the space, actual physical space, becomes the interface. We call it interspace because it's not the face but the space. Interspace is the medium for a various digital agent to understand the circumstance, understand the different agent, other agents, and decide what to do next, and actually give the direction to the other agents or their parts, devices, to do what. So their body extend their own kind of body. It is contradictory, but their body could extend any moment. Environment could be part of your body. That means environment can be an agent too. So there is no clear threshold between your body or the environment. And there's no clear threshold where is your body and to where the environment extend. And it's no clear definition What is agent? What is environment? Basically, yourself, no matter who you are, is the agent, and anything outside of your body is the environment. The future of our living environment could be very sci-fi-ish, which could be true. You know, that our house could be very smart and very considerate. They can prepare the adequate temperature, and they can prepare a good food, place an order and purchase, and they might be able to cook for you. That kind of sci-fi smart house, smart environment might be possible in the future, but is that the only way? What is the environment become agent means? That's the question in this installation. What is the agency? What is the agentness? They sense, they calculate, think, and they do something based on it, and so that they can benefit out of it. Environmental agents or robotic agent, are they always good-hearted? They could be lazy. Maybe being lazy is the ultimate and most fundamental behavior for something having an agency. They need to limit their energy consumption. They need to save their energy. They don't want to be tired. Then becoming lazy is a very smart behavior as the agent. Why not apply it to the future AI? Why not apply to the architecture? Why not apply to the furniture? That's the basic understanding of our installation in this case. The lazy house, they can behave very tensely standing and doing their job once somebody is looking at them. But they could be lazy once they understood no one is looking at them. And once somebody looked them up, and then they become tense. But once they sense that nobody's looking, they're gonna be sneakingly losing attention and become lazy. And they can go as lazy as possible unless somebody start looking at them again. So it's a very primitive form of the interaction. And in this case, they might not be really thinking or calculating, but there is the very sensitive threshold where machine start having the sense of agency. We'd like to represent that threshold in this exhibition, where daily environmental object, let's say furniture or house, start having the most primitive sense of an agency. Apparently, we as a human thinks that we are the only agent in a society, and we don't even think the robot could be an agent which should be getting the benefit, but they themselves think about their benefit. So is the environmental agents, which could be realized in the future. And house might look for their own benefit, so is the furniture and anything else. It doesn't mean anything bad or scary. They could be as harmlessly lazy. Why not? It doesn't need to be, they could be hostile. They could be as lazy as possible as humans do. The interesting quality is that the digital devices, digital agents, they can extend their body through the digital network. They can extend their sensory system. They can extend their calculation power. They can extend their actuation devices off their body, and they can connect it to each other so that their body threshold could be constantly change. So that's a unique quality of the digital agents. In the age of the digital agents coming into the daily life, which requires the common ground, interesting quality is we as a human or living creature might be able to access and use that extensive quality of the digital network. For instance, we can use any kind of sensory devices to remotely control any kind of robots or door or car through the network. That is, in a way, extension of your body, which is actually already happening. Your remote conferences is extending your presence and a voice and a gesture in a remote location. Limited aspect of your information or limited portion of your value, but you're already extending your body or your value or your presence through the digital network. So in a way, we are already partially becoming a digital agents, or we are letting the digital agents invading your body or social self. We have to accept it. This flow is unstoppable and we are already benefiting it. So let's take it as a more positive transition, and how that society is going to be is it could be the positive and interesting, provocative question to us, our future. In this context, that our installation could be treated as you're inputting to the house to wake up and behave, even though they don't have any function, but they are responding to your input. So you could consider they are your extended body. It's a very primitive and a first step, but you can imagine what's going to happen in the future. Through the extended body, extended quality, extended ability, you might be able to have vast amount of opportunities or capabilities or social value which you couldn't have before when you have stuck within your physical body. The era of the spatial AI, era of the digital agent, the era of the network society means that the threshold between your body and environment become very ambiguous. Your threshold between yourself and the other agent becoming ambiguous. And you can control the environment or other agents, so the other agent can control your body or presence or value too. How our society is going to be, how the architecture in that era could be, how we can benefit out of it, and not just the benefit, how we can let other agents, other environment be as lazy and as relaxed, so we can have each other's space in between in comfortable fashion, might be a good question to think about.